He denied his baby and left his wife. 3 years later, she came back with a revenge he'll never forget. Did you ever love me at all, Thatcher? Or was I just another investment that didn't yield the returns you expected? The words hung in the air of the marble lobby, causing every head to turn. Bryn Calloway stood before the man who had once been her husband, her eyes holding the quiet strength of someone who had rebuilt herself from ashes. The power dynamic that had defined their marriage had reversed entirely, and everyone watching knew it. Thatcher Hayes, billionaire, financial genius, empire builder, stood speechless, his usual commanding presence evaporating like morning dew under a harsh sun. This was the woman whose heart he had shattered 3 years ago. The woman whose pregnancy he had denied. The woman he had abandoned in her darkest hour. And now she held his entire financial future in her elegant hands. $4 billion, Thatcher. That's what your mistake is about to cost you. Welcome to Mr. Stephen Stories. If you've ever witnessed karma finally catching up to someone who deserved it, this story will resonate in your soul. Today, we explore how a man's cruelest decision led to the most unexpected redemption. Like this video if you believe some mistakes deserve a second chance, and subscribe to hear more stories that touch the heart of what makes us human. When Thatcher Hayes first laid eyes on Bryn Calloway, he wasn't yet the financial titan who would later command boardrooms across Manhattan. The charity fundraiser at the Metropolitan Museum of Art was beyond his usual social circle, a young financial advisor with middle-class roots trying to network his way into bigger opportunities. Then he spotted her, not because she was the most glamorously dressed woman in the room, but because she was the only one genuinely engaged with the artwork instead of the socializing. Most people at these events never actually look at the art, he said, stepping beside her. Bryn turned, hazel eyes assessing him with amused skepticism. And you're different? No, Thatcher admitted with surprising candor. But I'd like to be. What are you seeing that I'm missing? She smiled then, a smile that would later haunt his dreams. The shadows. Everyone notices the light in these paintings, but the artist's true skill is in how they handle darkness. Their courtship was a symphony of contradictions, the pragmatist and the idealist, constantly challenging each other's worldview while falling deeper into a connection neither had anticipated. Thatcher worked 80-hour weeks launching his own investment firm, while Bryn built a reputation for developing investment models that supported women's health initiatives. The proposal came just 8 months after they met. I know I'm not easy, he told her, taking her hand across the immaculately set table. I work too much. I'm obsessed with succeeding. But you make me want to be more than just successful. You make me want to be worthy. The early months of marriage were everything they had hoped for, passionate, challenging, and filled with the excitement of building a life together. But success changed Thatcher in ways neither had anticipated. Each new client, each million added to their portfolios, fed something insatiable within him. You promised we'd go to Lake George this weekend, Bryn said one Friday evening, finding Thatcher still hunched over financial models at midnight. The Matsumoto deal is about to close, he answered without looking up. Just one more big client and we'll have more vacation time than we know what to do with. That's what you said about the Richardson account. And the Walker Group before that. There was a new edge to Bryn's voice, not anger, but something worse, resignation. That became the refrain of their marriage, just one more deal, just one more milestone, just one more reason that his work needed to take precedence. What happens when success becomes the only measure of a man's worth? When the compass that guides every decision points only toward more money, more status, more validation, regardless of the cost to human connection. The morning everything changed began like so many others. Thatcher was preparing for a crucial presentation to potential investors for a new fund his firm was launching. Thatcher, we need to talk. Bryn stood in the doorway of the bathroom, her face pale but determined. Can it wait until tonight? The Davidson presentation is in 2 hours, and I'm still finalizing the projections. No, she said quietly. It can't wait. Something in her tone made him pause, his razor hovering over his half-shaved face. She held something in her hand, a plastic stick that he didn't immediately recognize. "I'm pregnant." The word struck Thatcher with physical force. He lowered his razor, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Pregnant. A baby. His carefully structured life, his meticulously planned ascension through the financial world, all of it suddenly threatened by this unexpected development. "You're sure?" he asked, his voice hollow. 6 weeks, Bryn confirmed. Her eyes searched his face for a reaction, joy, shock, anything that might indicate how he felt about becoming a father. What happened next would haunt them both for years to come. The fear that gripped Thatcher emerged as something ugly and unrecognizable. Is it mine? The question emerged from some dark corner of his psyche, a place of panic rather than reason. Bryn's face transformed, shock giving way to wounded disbelief. "What did you just ask me?" "We've been careful," Thatcher continued, unable to stop the toxic flow of words. "And you've been traveling for work. Meeting with clients. Are you accusing me of cheating on you?" Bryn's voice trembled, her hand protectively covering her still flat stomach. "After everything we've built together? I'm just saying the timing is convenient. The Westbrook Foundation account is about to sign. This would complicate everything." "Complicate?" Bryn repeated, her voice barely audible. "Our child is a complication to you? How do I even know it's mine?" The cruel question hung between them like a physical barrier. "Maybe you planned this, knowing what's at stake right now." The color drained from Bryn's face. Without another word, she turned and left the bathroom. Thatcher heard the bedroom door close quietly, not slammed in anger but shut with the finality of something irreparably broken. 3 weeks passed in a cold war of silent dinners and separate bedrooms. Thatcher buried himself in work, avoiding the wounded look in Bryn's eyes. The call came during a board meeting. His assistant interrupted with an urgency that immediately silenced the room. "Mr. Hayes, your wife is in the hospital. There's been a complication with the pregnancy." The next few hours blurred together, the rush drive to the hospital, the sterile corridors, the doctor's grave expression. Miscarriage. Complications. Surgery required. Bryn had been admitted with severe bleeding, and while she would recover physically, their baby was gone. When he was finally allowed to see Bryn, she lay pale and still against the white hospital sheets. Her eyes opened at his approach, but there was no warmth in them, no relief at his presence. Just emptiness. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, reaching for her hand. She didn't pull away, but neither did she respond to his touch. "The Davidson presentation," she said flatly. "Did you close the deal?" The question caught him off guard. "What?" "No, I left as soon as I heard." "Don't let me keep you then." Her voice was devoid of emotion. "I'm sure they're waiting for you." "Bryn, please. I know what I said was unforgivable. I was scared and—" "I don't want to hear it, Thatcher. My sister is coming to stay with me. You should go back to work. That's where you want to be." The mention of the deal sparked his professional instincts. 20 minutes, she was right. If he left now, he could make the closing arguments, secure the account, and be back before evening. Her sister would be with her, she wouldn't be alone. "I'll come back tonight," he promised. "We'll talk then." The Davidson presentation was successful, the deal secured. When he finally returned home the following evening, the penthouse felt different. It took him a moment to understand why, the absence of Bryn's touches, the small ways she had softened the stark modern design with personal items. On the kitchen counter lay a single envelope. Inside were divorce papers, already signed by Bryn, along with a handwritten note. "There are some betrayals from which there is no recovery. You showed me exactly where I stand in your list of priorities. I won't make you say it again. No forwarding address. No contact information." She had disappeared from his life as thoroughly as if she had never existed, just as he had denied the existence of their child. Have you ever had to rebuild after someone shattered your trust? Or perhaps you were the one who broke something precious? Comment below with how you found your way forward. Sometimes the most powerful healing comes from shared experiences. In the 3 years that followed, Thatcher Hayes became the man he had always aspired to be, at least on paper. His firm expanded into international markets. He acquired a reputation as a ruthless but brilliant investment strategist. The penthouse grew larger, the art more valuable, the view more exclusive. Yet Thatcher found himself standing at those floor-to-ceiling windows late at night, staring at a city that sparkled with promise for everyone but him. While Thatcher built his empire on the hollow foundation of regret, Bryn Calloway embarked on a different journey. The first months after leaving were the darkest of her life. She moved in with her sister, Melody, in Boston, far from New York where Thatcher's influence could be felt in every boardroom. "I don't recognize myself anymore," Bryn confessed one night. "I used to be strong, confident. Now I can barely get through a day without falling apart." "That's because you're grieving," Melody said gently. "Not just the baby, but the life you thought you had, the person you thought Thatcher was." 6 months after leaving New York, Bryn made a decision. She wouldn't allow Thatcher's cruelty to define the rest of her life. The memorial service she held for the baby was attended only by Melody and a grief counselor. They gathered at a small garden in the Boston Public Garden, where Bryn had commissioned a tiny angel sculpture to be placed among the flowers. "I never got to know you," she whispered, placing forget-me-nots at the base of the angel. "But you changed me forever. And I promise to make that change matter." She returned to the financial world gradually, but with a new focus. Her experience had crystallized her previous interest in ethical investing into something more personal and urgent. She began developing models for supporting healthcare initiatives focused on maternal health and pregnancy loss support. Her reputation grew steadily, not with the meteoric flash of Thatcher's career, but with a solid foundation of respect. When the prestigious Westbrook Foundation began searching for a new board member to oversee their investment portfolio, Bryn's name emerged as a leading candidate. The irony wasn't lost on her. The Westbrook Foundation had been one of Thatcher's most significant early clients. Their $4 billion endowment was managed by Hayes Capital, the very firm he had been building when he denied their baby and abandoned her at the hospital. When Grayson Westbrook himself called to offer her the position, Bryn hesitated. "Before I accept, Mr. Westbrook, there's something you should know. I was previously married to Thatcher Hayes. Ms. Calloway, the foundation selected you for your exceptional work in ethical investment strategies, not your personal history. Unless you feel unable to perform your duties objectively, I see no reason to withdraw our offer." After careful consideration, Bryn accepted the position. She told herself that the foundation's size meant she would likely have minimal direct interaction with Thatcher. But as she prepared for her first official visit to Hayes Capital, Bryn realized fate had other plans. Would you have the courage to face someone who betrayed you at your most vulnerable moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might help someone facing a similar crossroads right now. The marble lobby of Hayes Capital gleamed with the cold perfection that characterized everything Thatcher created. Bryn stood for a moment at the entrance, centering herself. She had prepared meticulously for this meeting, not just the financial analysis, but the emotional impact of seeing Thatcher again after 3 years of silence. The elevator doors opened, and there he was. Thatcher Hayes, impeccably dressed as always, his attention on the tablet in his hands. He looked up, ready to acknowledge whoever stood in the lobby with the perfunctory politeness he reserved for business acquaintances. The tablet nearly slipped from his fingers. Bryn. Her name escaped him like a confession. "Hello, Thatcher," she said, her voice carrying the quiet strength he remembered. "We need to talk." Something in her tone made his stomach clench. The confidence he typically wielded in boardrooms evaporated under her steady gaze. "My office," he managed, leading her past curious employees to the top-floor corner suite that overlooked the city skyline. Once the door closed, Bryn didn't waste time. "I've been appointed to the board of the Westbrook Foundation. The quarterly review is next month. I'll be leading the investment portfolio assessment team. Thatcher felt the blood drain from his face. The foundation could withdraw their business with a single vote, and his ex-wife now held significant influence over that decision. Is this revenge? He asked quietly. Something flashed in her eyes, not triumph, but something more complex. This is business, Thatcher. I earned this position through years of work after you left. She placed a folder on his desk. These are the preliminary questions for the review. I wanted to deliver them personally. As she turned to leave, Thatcher found his voice. Bryn, wait. She paused at the door. 3 years ago, when I told you I was pregnant, you said it wasn't yours. You denied our baby existed, then left me when I needed you most. You said a child would complicate things. Now I'm just a complication for your career. The ghost of a smile crossed her lips. Life has a strange symmetry, doesn't it? After she left, Thatcher collapsed into his chair. Now, staring at the folder that held his company's fate, he realized he was facing the consequences of that choice in a way he never anticipated. A week later, they both attended the annual charity gala for the city's children's hospital. He spotted her across the ballroom, elegant in midnight blue, engaged in animated conversation with the hospital's chief of pediatrics. When their eyes met briefly, Thatcher felt an old familiar pull. He made his way toward her, only to be intercepted by Grayson Westbrook himself. Hayes. Just the man I wanted to see, Westbrook boomed, clapping him on the shoulder. I see you've already met our newest board member. Brilliant addition to the team. Yes, Thatcher replied carefully. Bryn and I are acquainted. More than acquainted, Bryn corrected with a professional smile. We were married, Grayson. Westbrook's bushy eyebrows shot up. Were you, now? Well, that's interesting. As the gala continued, Thatcher found himself watching Bryn from across the room. Something had changed in her, beyond the sleek new haircut and confident posture. She radiated purpose, as though she'd found solid ground after the earthquake of their relationship. The following morning, rather than heading to the office, Thatcher found himself driving to the Boston Public Garden. His assistant had discreetly discovered that Bryn had commissioned a memorial there, a small angel sculpture where she had scattered their baby's ashes. Now, standing before the small stone angel nestled among spring flowers, he felt the weight of everything he'd refused to face. I'm sorry, he whispered, the words inadequate against the magnitude of his failure. I never expected to see you here. He turned to find Bryn standing a few paces away, holding a small bouquet of forget-me-nots. I come every month, she said, answering his unspoken question. The 15th. He'd forgotten the date. Another failure to add to his list. I should go, he said, stepping back to give her privacy. Stay, she surprised him by saying. This place was meant for both of us. They stood in silence as she arranged the flowers. The April morning was cool, cherry blossoms drifting on the breeze around them. I never processed it, Thatcher admitted. The loss. I just worked. As if nothing had happened. I know. Her voice held no accusation, only acknowledgement. When you showed up at my office last week, is the Foundation review your way of making me face consequences for denying our baby was mine? Bryn looked at him directly. I didn't know your firm managed the Westbrook portfolio when I accepted the position. When I discovered the connection, I considered recusing myself. But then I realized this wasn't about punishing you. This was life giving me a chance to demonstrate that I've moved beyond being the woman you abandoned when you claimed our baby couldn't possibly be yours. The review will be fair, Thatcher. Completely professional. But I won't pretend we don't have history. As she turned to leave, Thatcher felt panic rise in his chest. Can we talk? He blurted. Properly, I mean. Coffee or dinner or... Why? She interrupted. What would be the purpose? Because I've spent 3 years pretending I made the right choice, he finally said. And standing here now, I know with absolute certainty that I didn't. They met at a small cafe far from their usual haunts. Bryn arrived precisely on time, dressed in a simple sweater and jeans that reminded Thatcher of their early days together. "You look well," he said as she sat across from him. "I am well," she replied, ordering tea when the server approached. "It took time, but I rebuilt. The Westbrook Foundation is lucky to have you." She smiled slightly. "That's not what you want to talk about." Thatcher took a breath. "No. I need to apologize. For denying the baby was mine. For accusing you of trapping me. For leaving when you miscarried. For choosing the deal over you. For not being there when you woke up alone." Bryn studied him. "What prompted this? The review? Fear of losing your biggest client?" "Seeing you again," he answered honestly. "Realizing what I gave up." She was silent for a long moment. "Do you know what hurt most? Not that you left that night. Grief makes people do strange things. What broke me was that you denied our child existed in the first place. You made me feel like a liar, like I was trying to trap you with someone else's baby. Then when I lost our child, you never came back. Not really." Each word struck him like a physical blow. "It wasn't just about the miscarriage, Thatcher. It was about you showing me exactly where I ranked in your priorities. I didn't know how to handle it," he admitted. "The pregnancy was unexpected. I was focused on the merger. Then suddenly you were in the hospital and our baby was gone, and he stopped, the emotion surprising him. "I didn't know how to face it. Or you. So I retreated to the one place I felt in control. Work," she supplied. "What about you?" he asked. "How did you, after I left?" "I fell apart," she said simply. "Then I put myself back together. My sister took me in. I started therapy. Eventually, I channeled my grief into something meaningful, working with investment portfolios that support women's health and childhood education." "I should go," she said, gathering her coat. "We have the preliminary meeting tomorrow." "Bryn," he called as she stood. "Thank you. For this. For being willing to talk to me at all." Something shifted in her expression, a softening. "We were more than our ending, Thatcher. I haven't forgotten that." The Westbrook Foundation review began with brutal efficiency. Bryn led a team of analysts through every aspect of Thatcher's investment strategies, questioning decisions, challenging assumptions. She was fair but thorough, never giving him special treatment, positive or negative, because of their past. "Your emerging markets allocation seems heavily weighted toward extractive industries," she noted. "That conflicts with the Foundation's environmental priorities. Those sectors consistently outperform sustainable alternatives in developing economies," Thatcher countered. "Not according to the data I've compiled." Bryn slid a report across the table. "These clean energy initiatives have matched or exceeded traditional resource investments over the past 18 months. Watching her work, Thatcher saw a side of Bryn he'd never fully appreciated during their marriage. Her brilliance had always been evident, but now her confidence and leadership qualities shone. After 2 weeks of meetings, the Foundation team requested a complete overhaul of their portfolio strategy, emphasizing more socially responsible investments, Bryn's specialty. "We're giving you 3 weeks to present a revised approach," she informed him. "The board votes immediately after your presentation." Thatcher understood the subtext. This was his final chance. If the new strategy failed to impress, Westbrook would move their billions elsewhere. How do we know when someone has truly changed? Is it in their words, or in the painful recognition we see in their eyes? If you've ever witnessed a transformation in someone who hurt you, share your experience below. Thatcher threw himself into the work, exploring investment models he'd previously dismissed as too focused on social impact over returns. In the process, he discovered compelling data suggesting that ethical investment strategies often outperform traditional approaches over longer time horizons. "You look different," his colleague Marcus observed. "This Westbrook review has changed you." "I'm starting to understand what Bryn has been trying to do with her work. These aren't just feel-good investments, they create actual sustainable value." Each night, he ended his work at a reasonable hour, taking time to visit the memorial garden or attend a support group for parents who had experienced pregnancy loss, something the old Thatcher would never have considered. "My wife was 8 weeks pregnant," he shared during his third meeting with the group. I denied it was mine. Said she was trying to trap me. Then when she miscarried, I went back to work instead of staying with her. I lost everything," he continued. "Not just the baby, but my wife, my chance at a family. And the worst part is, I pretended it didn't matter. I built a company, made millions, told myself that justified what I'd done." One evening, he found himself at a small community center where the Westbrook Foundation funded an after-school program for disadvantaged children. Watching the children engaged in learning activities, Thatcher felt a pang of what might have been. "Mr. Hayes." He turned to find Bryn standing in the doorway, surprise evident on her face. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Research," he answered truthfully. "I wanted to see what we're actually investing in. Not just the numbers, but the impact." They walked together through the center, watching as children received homework help. "Our baby would be starting preschool now," Bryn said quietly as they paused by a table where a little girl was learning to read. "I think about that sometimes. I dream about them," Thatcher confessed. "A little one with your eyes. I wake up reaching for someone who was never there, someone I once denied existed." Bryn looked at him sharply. For the first time since their reunion, tears glimmered in her eyes. "This review," she said, her professional demeanor slipping. "It's harder than I expected. Seeing you every day, remembering. We don't have to do this alone," he suggested carefully. "The remembering, I mean." The day of the final presentation arrived with a tension that crackled through the boardroom. Grayson Westbrook sat at the head of the table, flanked by board members and analysts. Bryn took her place among them, her expression professionally neutral. "The revised strategy represents a fundamental shift in how Hayes Capital approaches the Westbrook portfolio," Thatcher began. "Rather than separating financial returns from social impact, we've identified key sectors where these objectives naturally align." As he moved through his presentation, board members who had seemed skeptical at first began nodding. Even Westbrook appeared impressed. Only Bryn remained unreadable, her questions precise and challenging. "Your maternal health initiative projections show remarkable potential," she noted. "What specifically changed your perspective on this sector?" Previously, Hayes Capital categorized it as high risk, modest return. Everyone in the room sensed the question went beyond investment strategy. "New data," Thatcher answered, meeting her gaze directly. "And personal experience that made me reevaluate what constitutes meaningful return on investment." In conclusion, Thatcher said, reaching the end, this revised strategy not only projects returns that outpace market averages over a 10-year horizon but ensures that every dollar invested works toward the foundation's core mission. Westbrook looked around the table. "Questions before we vote?" Bryn spoke up. "You've presented a compelling case for social impact investing, Mr. Hayes. Yet 3 weeks ago, you advocated for a much more traditional approach. What changed?" "Perspective," he answered honestly. "I've spent my career focused on numbers, believing that maximizing returns was the only measure of success. Recent events forced me to reconsider what truly matters. Some lessons come at a tremendous personal cost. The best we can do is learn from them, even when it's years too late. 3 years ago, I denied something precious because I was afraid of how it would change my life. I can't undo that denial, but I can acknowledge the truth now, in everything I do." A moment of silence followed his words. As the board filed out to deliberate, Bryn paused beside Thatcher. That wasn't just about the investments, she said quietly. No, he agreed. It wasn't. An hour later, Westbrook announced that the foundation had voted to maintain their relationship with Thatcher's firm, with the provision that they implement the new strategy immediately. After the meeting concluded, he found Bryn in the lobby, waiting for a car. Congratulations, she said sincerely. It was the right decision. Thatcher, she said as she prepared to leave, I didn't orchestrate this review as revenge. But I won't pretend it hasn't been healing to see you finally confront what happened between us. Not just confront it, he replied. Learn from it. I denied our baby existed, Bryn. It was the worst thing I've ever done. No business deal or foundation account can change that. But perhaps I can change, be someone who acknowledges truth, not runs from it. She nodded, a small smile touching her lips. Perhaps we both have. 3 months later, Thatcher stood in the newly dedicated children's wing of the city hospital, a project jointly funded by his firm and the Westbrook Foundation. He spotted Bryn across the room, deep in conversation with a hospital administrator. They had developed a cautious professional relationship since the review, occasionally meeting to discuss the foundation's investments. It's remarkable what you've accomplished here, came Westbrook's voice as the older man joined him by the window. It was Bryn's vision, Thatcher replied honestly. I just helped secure the funding. You know, when she first revealed your history, I expected fireworks at the review. Instead, I witnessed something extraordinary, 2 people using a painful past to create something meaningful. Before Thatcher could respond, Bryn approached. The children move in next week, she said, nodding toward the colorful rooms. The impact reports project this facility will serve over 3,000 families annually. Numbers don't capture the real value, though, do they? Thatcher observed. She studied him. You have changed. I'm trying, he acknowledged. Every day. Bryn, he ventured carefully, would you consider having dinner with me sometime? Not to revisit the past, but to explore if there might be a future. She didn't answer immediately. We're different people now, Thatcher. What happened between us, it can't be undone. You denied our baby existed. You left when I lost our child. I know, he said. I'm not asking for that to be forgotten. Just a chance to know who you've become. Who we might be now. A small smile touched her lips. Dinner, she agreed. Just dinner. We'll see where it leads. As they turned to rejoin the dedication ceremony, Thatcher felt something he hadn't experienced in years, not the driven ambition that had consumed his former life, but a quiet hope. Whatever came next, whether friendship, reconciliation, or simply closure, they would face it with the wisdom that only comes through loss and healing. The revenge Thatcher had feared turned out to be something far more powerful, a second chance to understand what truly mattered. Thank you for joining me for today's story. If this tale of redemption touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes our greatest mistakes can lead to our most profound transformations. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Do you believe some betrayals can be forgiven, or are certain actions truly unforgivable? Subscribe to Mr. Stephen's Stories for more emotional journeys that remind us of our shared humanity.